Do you do a race just about every weekend?
It was for like even 2023 or 2023 and 2024 or even some 2022. I was doing some just about every other weekend.
Why Run Today, where we explore your why, because every run has a story.
All right, we are back, and today we have Greg Schake with us. Greg, tell me first, what do you do?
So I drive a truck. I work for called DLI, and we deliver body parts to dealerships. We work for leased on for GM, and we so I'm actually my truck and trailer stay in town, Fergus, and I kind of based out of Hudson, Wisconsin. So I have a driver that comes in. He calls me when he's an hour away. I get up, go meet him, and I usually start anywhere between midnight and anywhere on from there. You know, depends on what time he gets out of Hudson. And I start there, so I have two stops in Fergus, Minnesota Motors and Nelson's. Go over to Wahpeton. I have one stop there. I go up all the way up to Fargo. I have one big stop there at Luther. And then head over to Valley City. I got one stop there, and then go over to Jamestown. I have one stop there. Once I get to Valley City, I have a driver I call, and I swap with him. He takes the rest of the trailer and go out, does his route. Then I'll take the empty trailer, and I'll head back to Fergus, and that's my day.
That's your day, starting at midnight. Usually,
yeah,
or somewhere around
he might call me around midnight, so I probably start around 1 o'clock in the morning. It can be later than that. It could be earlier. It all just varies. I never know. So he's actually my alarm clock. You know, so I wait till he calls me.
Are you familiar with Jocko Willink? Do you know who that is? He has a big podcast. He's a former Navy SEAL, but he's famous because he posts a picture of his watch at 4 a.m. when he's starting his workout. Okay. I was just thinking you might need to start doing posting a picture of your watch when I'm starting.
So it's
we're on.
I've heard of the name, but I don't recall if you're probably watching it. I've probably seen it on going through other podcasts and maybe seen his name and stuff, but nothing really clicked into it.
Highly recommend checking him out. Discipline equals freedom is this big thing. So, and let's get into your running a little bit. So the reason somebody told me I have to check you out, so I pulled up your Facebook.
It's pretty scary, but
I pulled up your Facebook because they told me about you, and the first thing I saw was that you ran, I think it was a half marathon in like the Black Hills. Yes. And then you, the next day, did a half marathon up somewhere in northwestern North Dakota.
Yep, in Bismarck.
Yep. In Bismarck. So back-to-back half marathons. And then I start scrolling back through, and I'm like, he does this every weekend.
Yep.
Do you run a race just about every weekend?
Lately it hasn't been, it's been kind of sporadic now this year and stuff. But probably the last year or last 2 years, it could be, we're probably just doing just about every other weekend or every weekend. Especially like in September and October, where most of all your races are and stuff. Not really too much in August and July, but then you get to June a little bit, and then May and April and stuff. All your earlier races and stuff. Where there's a lot of times I've been doing a lot of back-to-backs, and it's.
Is it mostly half marathons, or what do you like to run?
So I do love the half marathons. Okay. And I love doing the 5Ks. The half marathon, it just seems like it's, just a perfect amount of miles, and you're not really overwhelmed of running. And it's just, we kind of like do a little game, not a game, but, it's like you're kind of counting in your head when you're running your miles. Say you're getting down, you're at mile 3. So, okay, you only got 10 miles left. And then once you even, say, start at, you get to mile 4, you're down for me, I go okay, I'm down in single digits left, and then once you get even like the half, okay, it's, you got half, you're at 7 miles, you got 6 more miles to go, and it just keeps on going down. It seems like, once you get down to you're at like mile 4 or mile 9. You got 4 miles left. It goes faster. Because then once you get to mile 10, okay, I only got a 5K left. It ain't that much left. 3 miles. It's.
You realize most people don't ever run that far. I don't.
Yes. Even like a 5K, 3 miles. It's just. I got stickers on my truck, and it's like all the 5Ks, 10Ks, 15Ks, half marathons, and a lot of people have asked me, well, what are the 5Ks, what are 10Ks? Thinking it's money, but
sure.
it is fun. I mean, it's addicting,
Yeah.
So
I see. What about the running, specifically the half marathon? Do you find addicting? What is it about running that?
So running is a lot of times it's relaxing. You can go with your headphones on, and I guess me it's when you're going into with a crowd and stuff. People, all sorts of different people you see running, and some people that you wouldn't think should be running, like me, overweight a little bit, but there's people out there, all shapes and sizes, are running. It's fun. It's just, and then you get in your own world just running, and just out there to have fun. You meet new people. Stuff like that.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you kind of zone out in your run, or do you like to talk to the people around you as you run? Where do you kind of go?
It all depends on. And a lot of times I do probably zone out, just listening to my music. And I don't have the things in my ears, so I don't really, I have them like the air shocks and stuff like that, so they're on my. Outside my ear, so I can hear stuff around me. I can hear people talking around me. I probably do zone out because there's people that say my name and I'm looking around and not knowing where they're, where they're coming from. And I will talk to some people. I've got some other things too that. Some of the races I've had, stories that we were out in Rapid City and we're doing a race, and there was this, this kind of one lady, we're kind of going back and forth. I passed her, she passed me, and then I think she passed me. We were kind of close. It was probably about like 3 miles left, and I got next to her, and we were kind of walking. It's not I do one run walk. I'm not run straight through. It's just run walk is fun. Sometimes I do a little more running and walking, but so go back to that is we're talking, and she was actually scared because there was a guy that ran behind her for about 2 miles, and I was pretty much right behind her, and she said all she could hear was just his breathing. It just kind of irritated her a little bit, and so she asked me, well, can you, and he did pass her, she said, but can you still run with me to rest it away? And I said, I have no problem. I was a little quick for her, a little faster for her, but I slowed my pace down to stay with her, and we finished the race together. Just to, help people feel secure and stuff like that. It's just, and you meet different people, that way.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the best things about running is the community.
It is.
Of runners. It's rare that you meet a runner who's a jerk.
Right. Yep. there are some, and but
you've probably. You got way more races under your belt than I do, and maybe that's where you
probably
find the
that,
jerks.
But you probably ran longer than I have, and
not that much. I bet not. Well, let's talk about the start of your running. Where did you start? You mentioned earlier you started in 2019.
2019, I started. So I was biking, and I did a lot of biking. So I've done at least 6 or 7 century rides.
Oh wow!
And I was coming home from a St. Paul bike classic tour and stuff, and I was listening to the Vikings, and they had a commercial about a Vikings 5K, and you finish in their practice stadium at the 50-yard line. And I was like, oh, that'd be pretty cool to finish, inside the Vikings, 50-yard line of their practice stadium. And so I was like, okay, it's only, 5K, 3 miles, I was like, ain't shouldn't be too bad. So it was probably about like maybe 2 weeks later. So I was like, well, went home, and like maybe like the next day, I went out to the Central Lakes Bike Trail, just regular shoes on, and see if I can run 3 miles. And yeah, I could run 3 miles, but my shins were telling me that I shouldn't be. I went out way too fast, way too hard, didn't know what I was doing. So I had shin splints. I mean, I walked a lot because my shins were just burning. I mean, they were just on fire.
I've had that feeling, and it's the worst.
It is the worst. I mean, it's just so... But then, yeah, so September 29th, there was the Twin Cities Orthopedics Vikings 5K. Was my very first 5K. And just kind of bloomed from there. Just from 5Ks, around and stuff. And what led up to my, I've gone up to Duluth and went to, the Fargo even just doing their 5Ks. And went to Grandma's and did her 5K, and I didn't do anything else. And what really got me into the half marathons is when I did the Lake Region run. I did a 10-miler. And, I did it, so actually I did it just under 2 hours, but I did it with the pulled hamstring too.
Oh, no.
Pulled quad.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, a half marathon, it's only 3 miles more. It's like, I can do this, so I signed up for my first half marathon. It was Dick Beardsley's, half marathon. Sure. And that was actually ended up being 9/11/2021. And that was my very first half marathon. And
4 years ago today.
Yes.
We're recording this on 9/11/2025.
So, yeah,
who knows when it will come out?
Actually, I just kind of looked at that too. I was like, I'll make sure if I wrote that right, because it was 4 years ago today. That was my first, because I think they end up moving because probably COVID. I'm guessing, if I remember right.
Sure.
Because it's usually.
Well,
I guess it's back then, but it's kind of hard. But it's usually. Beginning of September stuff, but maybe something. But yeah, it was so. That was my first one, and it just kind of bloomed from there. It just kind of exploded from there. All the.
So how many half marathons have you done? Do you know?
So I did some looking. So far, my half marathons, I have 66 total.
66 in 4 years.
4 years.
Wow.
And
you're put some time in.
Yes. So 2023, I only did 3 half marathons. 2022, picked it up, did 9 of them. And so, if you're looking at my Facebook page, you kind of recognize some of the pictures. I'm with the older gentleman. His name is Ralph Visness. Okay. We met, so actually, going back, I was supposed to go up to Duluth and do a full marathon, but on rollerblades. And I did some training, but I wasn't really quite ready yet to do it. So I kind of pulled off on that and just kind of ended up doing a virtual one. And I noticed there was a half marathon that weekend out in Bismarck. So I was like, I got time off, so I'll go out there and do that one. And so they had a free thing for a walk before the 5K. So I signed up for the 5K and a half. And they had a walk. And I met, and I was there just kind of warming up. And there was a guy there. I'd seen him before at some of the 5Ks up in Fargo and stuff like that. But I just never really introduced myself and I seen some pictures of people from Fargo there. And we got to talk, and we walked the whole mile and just talked the whole way, introduced each other, and he was, and I told him kind of the one race I was going to next, and he was interested. It was Mankato. And so when we got home, we did the race and stuff, got home, and a little later on, he called me up and he goes, well, I don't want to impose. You could say no if you don't want to. He asked me if he'd like to have a rider with you. or me if I have a rider with, to go down to Mankato. And yeah, I had no problem doing that, and then from there on, me and Ralph been going kind of bloomed down from that. We end up actually more talked about it. We ended up doing Mankato plus going down to Des Moines the next day and do another half.
Was that your first back-to-back then?
It could be. I want to say that's probably the first back-to-back.
Okay.
From there. But so 2022, I did 9 half marathons. And then 2023, I did 24 half marathons in 1 year. And then 2024, I did 23 half marathons in 1 year. And then so far in 2025, I've done 7. And I got a few left to do. We're taking off tomorrow, heading out to Mount Rushmore for a half marathon out there on Saturday. So
sounds like a whole lot of fun. Now, I also saw... Fun. Well, actually, before I get into the other part, you talked about biking and your century ride. So what got you into biking originally then, and especially century rides, because that's...
So biking, I went and bought a bike out at, there was a, it was like a junkyard out there, just right out of town on 210 there. And they had some bikes for sale, just, they were fixing up bikes and... So I bought a $15 Schwinn bike, and it was pretty nice, and I had Clark down there, Central Lakes bikes, and fixed, kind of tuned up and stuff. And I just started, going, I kind of wanted more for my health and just to keep on, going, I guess, just not really sit around, just do something,
Sure.
So
something to stay active.
Pretty much stay active. So I went on the trail and stuff, just kept on going on trails and kept on, going further and further every time. And, like that, I'd go 7 miles out, or 7 miles total, and just kind of keep on going further. And then my biggest goal was to go to Dalton and back, and it did that. It seemed like I kept on going further and further, and then once, one time I went to, and I did, kind of build it up more, and up going down to past Alec, to Osakis, to the end of Central Lakes to get on to Wobegon Trail. I did, be like a 50-some mile bike, and the girlfriend came and picked me up, and actually kind of went out for her kid, and went out, a friend of hers, and went out to, had ice cream, and came back home. And just kind of went on from there, and so on actually it'll be the day after my birthday, and I was figured I'm gonna do my first century ride, and I kind of woke up a little later than I wanted to, but I kind of started 10 o'clock in the morning, and I rode all the way down to St. Cloud, and the girlfriend and her kid had cousins down there, and they said they'll meet me, and your mom went too. And if we were to go out for supper for my birthday. So I went and rode down there, went all the way down to St. Cloud. So about 112 miles I did that day.
Wow.
And it was on my birthday, or the day after my birthday. So that was my first century ride.
Okay. So. And so you like the time. You like the time alone exercising.
I do. I do like, if there's people with stuff too, is fun too. It's like I say, I do like by myself too, because I can go at my own pace. I don't have to worry if I'm going too slow for the other guy or if I'm going too fast for the other guy. I don't want him to get, or him or her to get mad at me for going too fast or going too slow. So I'll adjust, and if I do, go with other people, not too fast or not too slow, but it's just, go with them. So.
Well, and then I've seen, so you biked first, then you started running. Now I've also seen you've done a few triathlons too.
I did. So
you wanted to combine them and throw a swim in too?
Yeah. So it's Hoot Lake was my first one. I seen it before, on Facebook and stuff like that. People talking about, triathlons, and I was like, okay, well, I can run, sort of. I can bike. And swimming, I can, manage to swim, but I don't really suggest people to, I strongly suggest people to train for swimming.
Sure. Sounds like great advice.
Do not do what I did and, I always, I kept on thinking, I'm going to train and do this. Well, lo and behold, it keeps on creeping up, and here next day, here's the triathlon. Like, well, okay, I'll imagine just kind of, just do it. And it was, so I got to the first, we did the swim. I got to the first platform, and I just about kind of quit. I just about gave up, but I was like, maybe just, if I just hang on here and just catch my breath a little bit, because I think I probably went a little too fast, and with all the other swimmers there, probably try to keep up with them, and and there's some fast ones out there, so I think I probably went a little too fast. So I just catch my breath, and it's like, well, I'll go out to the next one, and got to the next one, stayed there for a little bit, and then turned around, went to the next one, just catch my breath, and then I finished the swim. And then got up to the biking, which I passed, ended up passing 7 people on the biking.
Nice.
And then we got to the run, and I passed a couple of people there. So it's, I was last for swimming, but it was fun. And so it kind of kicked in. And it's like, this is fun. I just don't recommend not going out and just try to wing it. But
Sure.
But it did, it ended up.
As Minnesotans, we swim all the time.
We do.
So who needs to practice it?
I figured, I swam a bunch when I was a kid.
Sure.
It's like, but it's been years since I've swam before. It's like, well, at least if I do drown or start going under, I got people out there that'll come pick me up. But so.
I love it. So, let's talk about training. Do you train for the? I mean, you said you.
Can you give me a definition of training?
That's what I was wondering. How you had time with your job, and do you get out and run in between, or
that is difficult for me for my training, but for my actually I did a full marathon up in Grandma's. I was training for that. I was kind of doing just about every single day, either running or doing some other kind of activities and stuff like that. And I was, doing pretty good on that. I mean, I was getting stronger in miles. I was getting longer, going longer and stuff. But then once I did the full marathon, that's where it all changed for me, though.
Okay.
So I was set at a goal of 450, and so actually my fastest time for the half marathon was down in Rochester, and I still don't know where I got this or where it came out of me. I did a 202, 202 something down in Rochester.
That's good.
And it's like, I don't know where that came. I was we were leading up, because I'm pretty sure it was from all that training just for lead up for the full marathon, and I was kind of going I was up in Eau Claire and down Lincoln, Nebraska, and we always kept on PR and stuff, and got to there. Then we came up to Fargo, and kind of slowed down just a little bit. Just I suppose I was kind of getting worn out because we were doing we did Lincoln and Eau Claire, then Rochester, then back up to Fargo and stuff like that. But I went to, so I did my full marathon. I was going to a 450, and I was on pace halfway through. But so kind of going back a little bit, my training though was, my longest was only 16 miles.
Okay.
Because a lot of times for my long miles, I had a half marathon race that day. So it's like you run your 13 miles. It's like I really don't want to run anymore, you know.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I figured, well, okay, you know, at least I'm running still. You know, I might not get up to 18 or 20 miles as some people do for their training for their full. You know, 16 miles was, you know, pretty good miles. If I figured I kept on running. I'm still active. I'm not just, you know, just doing that and nothing else. So go back to the full and got halfway through. I think my body was kind of like, why are you still running? You know, it's like you should be quitting. You should be done. So we ran 13 miles. You're not supposed to be running anymore. But a little bit, I think it was like mile 14. There was a pothole in the center, or pothole in there, and I was kind of trying to go around it, but I ended up hitting the edge, and I rolled my ankle. So I didn't give up. It hurt, but I slowed down to like a jog and walk and stuff. And I just like, I'll just, you know, I'm not worried about the time anymore. I'll just finish. And I ended up doing a 5:16, which is still, you know, not too bad of a time. You know,
Pretty close to your goal.
So, and it was my first time, so I was like, okay, you know, I'm happy with the time, you know. So, and you know, foot was a little sore and stuff, but next weekend we went out to Missoula, Montana, and did another 5K and half marathon. But 5K went good, you know. First part of the half marathon was good. Got to mile 6, pain started coming back in my ankle. So then I kind of overcompensated a little bit for the pain and did something to my knee. Hurt my knee. So it was just kind of, and just from there on, I've been battling injuries after injuries, from my ankle to my knee. Then that went good. Then it went over to my right foot, and you know, and then it went to the shin splints, you know, for some reason. And I was just, you know, overcompensating, I suppose, from other muscles, you know, try not to hurt yourself. And it just kind of been going on, you know, that from left and right. And went to the doctor I was kind of with the plantar fasciitis. I ended up having plantar fasciitis on my right foot. And got some inserts and was okay. And then, you know, so for some reason, I was thinking that when I went to the doctor, because I was having pains. I went back there and said, it's just, you know, the stuff was not working. You know, the inserts were not working. I'm still having pain. You know, it's in my left foot. But found out, you know, it was a year later. And we found out, actually, when I went in to the doctor, it was for my right foot. So my right foot, I've been having problems, and this is real bad. I still have problems with it, but it is getting better. And so, like, my training now from then on is just because I still do runs. I battle through the pain and stuff, and it's, you know, a lot of people would probably stop running, and I guess I don't. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be in so much pain I could barely walk, you know, on foot. But it would get better more and more you walk on it and stuff. But I'd be like an old man crunched over and just hobble through, and you know. But then even at some of the races, I'd run and I'd be in pain, and I'd had to do a lot more walking and stuff. And one time I ended up at a Fargo, and it was like this year, just did a 5K, and I was really in pain. And for the half marathon next day, I ended up dropping down to a 10K, and it felt okay and stuff. And we were supposed to go out to Deadwood the next day, and we ended up canceling that just because I was in so much pain. And so I finally went back to the doctor again, and when I was doing PT, and found out that my shoes that I was wearing were too, you know, I was wearing regular size shoes, and found out I should have been wearing a wide shoe instead. So all those miles I've been doing I was running on, running with squish toes and,
Sure.
causing all the problems and stuff.
Yeah.
So I got them switched, and I am starting to feel a little better. We did this new thing I want to say it's somewhat new. It's called low dose radiation treatment or therapy, and we did 6 sessions of that. And it might take a little bit to, once I feel, it'll take a little bit to feel if it worked or not.
Sure.
So it is feeling good so far.
So is that why you're down a little on races this year? Is that
just
schedule and
just the scheduling and I still have a bunch more, not really a bunch more, but just kind of, so for my work, I have 20 days off, and all my days off, I go for running.
Sure.
So I got to pick and choose what I do and stuff. And it's, the back-to-back half marathons do get to you, like say, going doing Fargo, leaving right away to go to Deadwood, drive another 8 hours, and it's just exhausting, driving out, or even going down to Watertown, running, the lake around there, and then leaving right away and going over to Green Bay and running a half marathon there. It's just, and then after you have half marathon, then you drive back home. It's just, it's a lot of wear and tear.
Sure.
But it is fun. I do have one more back to back this year. I'm still gonna do. It's down in Kansas City, and then back up to Des Moines, Iowa, for the second half marathon. So.
And then back home.
Sure. That's only 5 hours, but ain't too bad. But
Sure.
and a lot of people say, I say 12 hours, even 11 hours away. I say, well, it ain't too far away. We could drive, and
I mean, you do drive for a living, so
yep. And so the guy that rides with me, so he pays for gas and I do all the driving. So if we went out to the Grand Tetons and I drove straight through 15 hours, 15 plus hours, went out there, did the 5K, and that one I enjoyed, but except for the 5K, that was they had some construction in their parking lot and stuff, so they had to change around their route for the 5K. So I went up. They changed it so the 5K you went up a hill, and actually you start like 6,000 feet elevation, and you have going over 7,000 feet elevation. So when you're running, you're going up a gravel hill or gravel road. You kind of got to lean forward, and if you stood up and lean back a little bit, you'd feel like you're gonna fall backwards.
Oh, jeez.
And I've got some pictures I'll show you later. So we got past there, and we got up to a little trail and stuff. And actually, it was a stop and go for us. There was, I'll show you a picture, but it was like a line of people, because it was like a one lane trail. Like a little horse trail or something like that, or animal trail, cow trail, something like that. And went on there, and so it was kind of winding around. So it's like a lot of people just would be stopped, and you just sit there and talk to people, and then go a little bit, and then stop again. Because there was one spot up on top there. It was like a good 2 feet. You had to climb up to get up to the next spot. It's like that's where a lot of people were having trouble getting up there. And so we got up there, and then it was all of a sudden it was downhill from there. Still single lanes that you really couldn't really pass too much on if you had a little clear or something. Because otherwise, if you look down, if you get off the trail, it's straight down. So you fall. But there was one spot I wish I would took pictures because we had snow on our trail. I had planned on going and lay on there and pretend like I was doing a snow angel and stuff.
Nice.
But there was people on there, and it's like I just keep on going and stuff. But there's one spot where you were going down the gravel road, and it was like a sharp, turn and stuff. But they had people there just to make sure, if you kind of lost control and they would catch you. Because, if you kept on going, you'd go all the way down to the bottom, and then you'd hurt. But, grab a roll, put in, you turn. It was pretty fun, But the half marathon wasn't as steep like that. It was fun, but it's just beautiful out there.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that country is glorious.
It is.
That's what's your, it's your favorite half marathon? If somebody's going to do one half marathon,
see, I knew you were going to ask that.
Where should they go?
A lot of people ask that too. It's so hard. I guess, have you done grandmas?
Nope.
Okay. And a lot of people probably, would probably say, and they'd probably have their, favorites too. I guess grandmas to me is, it's beautiful. It's fun. It's just, it's kind of like a flat, look at some little rolling hills, but it's perfect. You're next to the lake there and stuff. And it's just, I don't know. I always thought that was, pretty cool. But I got so many different ones. So like the one, Yellowstone was another one. Okay. I did. That was my first time doing out there, and wasn't really prepared for the elevation, and so it got me a little bit for winded and stuff. Another one, they don't do it no more, but they do the. So we did the race. It was in Green Bay. It was called the Cellcom Half Marathon, and they it was the last year that they did it. But so you got to go through Lambeau Field.
Oh, really?
On the around the whole field and stuff inside, and then come back out and then finish, right down the road there. And that one's pretty, even if you're not, Green Bay fan or like that, it's just to see it, And even once we finished doing half, we cleaned up, we walked over, and there's still marathon people coming in. We got to go inside, sit in the seats, in the stands there, and watch the rest of the marathon people come through. And that's, I've never been to Green Bay or to the Lambeau Field before, so it's first time. It's just seeing it, firsthand. It's just, pretty cool, And another one would be Indy Mini, down to Indianapolis. Okay. You get to go around the Brickyard 500.
Oh, really?
The racetrack and stuff, or the Indy 500, and you get to kiss the bricks. They have a line there where you can, get down and kiss the bricks, and I got, my picture taken that. So it's like, what in lifetime are you gonna be able to do that? Sure. I'm not gonna, drive a race car and win the race to be able to do it. Yeah. So I got, running, I get to see different things, With that, we went over to Flying Pig, Ohio. It's only 3 hours away, afterwards. So, and we did the Flying Pig Marathon. And we were next to the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium. We didn't go inside, but we were outside of it. And I think we seen Cincinnati Reds. If I was right, their ball field. We kind of went by them and stuff. It just seeing different things, it's just so much fun, when you're traveling,
Well, that'd be a question. How about if you're going to do back-to-back races, and not necessarily the half marathon, but sounds like you do a lot of 5K and then half marathon also.
So, yes, I do. Actually, I do like doing the 5K Friday night and then half marathon Saturday morning. To me, it feels like you're getting your body working, getting body moving, and getting things stretched out, the night before. And you get, also get to do a race, Sure. So, and it feels like you're kind of ready for the next day. And you don't have to go all out, for the 5K to wreck yourself for the next day. Sure. Just go out there, have fun. That's the thing. Just go out, have fun. Even the half marathons, I guess, so I met some people down in Olathe, Kansas and stuff. And this Kyle Walker, he does a broadcast, Back of the Pack podcast. And I've been listening to him for a while. And there's another one you should, check out and stuff. I don't want to go over your podcast, but
You're just fine.
he's, pretty cool. He goes and does the races, and then he explains about it or gives his 2 cents about it. If it's, something that maybe you guys should go look at, or, stuff like that. And we met him. He came up to Fargo with some friends, him and Cody, and then a bunch of other people from Kansas City around there came up and did Fargo and stuff. And we met up with some other races down in Little Rock, down there. Seen him, he had a booth down there. So it's just, you get meet so many different people. And then a lot of times people come up to you and say, well, weren't you at such race? So they'll see you, and recognize you and see you now at a different race, and said, so it's just, you get to meet different people. It's fun.
Sure. It is a great community. Well, we should wrap up here, Greg. Any thoughts you'd want to leave with our audience? Any ideas?
Like I'd say, you don't have to run. If you're a slow runner, there's nothing wrong with being back of the pack. To me, it's, I went out and was thinking, I got to keep on getting faster and faster. I found out, when I was kind of hurt stuff and kind of slowing down, back of the pack, you meet interesting people back there, and actually get to have more fun.
Sure.
People are just having fun back there. They're not worried about their time. They're just out there to have fun. And that's, I'd like to tell people, is just don't worry. If you're kind of new to this, or just want to start running stuff, don't worry about your time. Just get with people, back of the pack, or even the middle, or whatever you're comfortable with, but just go out and have fun.
Absolutely.
Just don't overdo yourself. It's just like me.
You don't have to go try and win the race.
No. It's for like me. I've my age group in the 40s. There's some fast people. There's no way I'd be able to win. My age group, or even win the race. So I'm happy with where I'm at. As long as you finish and not give up, that's the most accomplished.
Yeah.
It's just, and also the bling, the medals.
You like collecting those medals?
I do love collecting the medals. It's all for fun, collecting medals, seeing different ones, like I want to go down to Little Rock again and do the full marathon. And those medals, like a dinner plate, that's how big the size they are.
Oh, really?
And they usually get bigger every year, So it's just, I want to do the full marathon down there. It's just, next year is going to be tough for me. And I don't know if it's something I just maybe hit my head or something, but I'm going to sign up. I've already signed up for 2 of them, but wait for Grandma's to open up. I'll have 3 full marathons to do next year within probably about a month. I'll do the Lake Wobegon Trail, May 9th, but also I'll have a bunch of other half marathons
In
betweens. And I'll have Fargo. I signed up for Fargo Marathon, and then a couple weeks after that, I'm going to do Grandma's because this is their 50th anniversary. So it'll be within just a hair over a month. I'll have 3 full marathons in, plus a bunch of other half marathon stuff.
You're gonna have a lot of bling.
Oh yes. Do
you have a special display at home, or what do you do with all your medals?
So Ralph used to build medal displays. He's kind of retired doing that stuff, but you can go buy them online too. But yeah, I've got a bunch from him, and I've got them on my wall, hanging up on my wall and stuff. They're all displayed. So just like all my race bibs too, I keep all, and they're not hung up or anything, but I have some that are hung up, but I have them in a shoebox. I just keep them for all the races I've done.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's really great. So, parting words, why run today, Greg?
I know there's so many things why run today. It's fun. It's enjoyable, relaxing. it's just so hard. And, for me, it's just relaxing, and fitness, probably the most thing is fitness and just, you can go out and blow steam. If you're having a bad day, just go out and even now you have to run, just walk, and just, jog and just clear your mind, So it's just, that's the biggest thing, just to have fun,
Love it. Well, thanks for coming on, Greg. We appreciate it.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to Why Run Today. Every run has a story, and we're glad you shared yours.